Well, you probably can't tell by the background, but we're a group of ESL teachers based in Toronto, Canada. Did you notice how I said Toronto and not Toronto? Yep, that's how locals say it, Toronto. Anyways, before moving to Canada, I had heard that Canadians were extremely polite, syrup-eating, hockey-loving people who always put an A at the end of every sentence. Today we're going to find out if these cliches stand or if they're completely inaccurate. Hi, I'm Danny, and welcome back to Bite Size English, your daily bite of English. Before we begin, I like to quote Chimamanda Adichie. On her wonderful TED Talk, if you haven't seen it, the link is below, she says, the problem of stereotypes is not that they are untrue, but that they are incomplete. They make one story become the only story. So, although we'll find that some stereotypes are, for the most part, accurate about Canadians, they'll never be true for all Canadians, in all provinces, and at all times. And don't worry if there are words and expressions you don't know. First, try to predict the meaning using the context. Then, look at the description below where I explain the most difficult ones. Finally, watch it again and see if you remember them. Before setting foot on the Great White North, I really thought this was true because Canada does indeed have two official languages, English and French. But the truth is, you won't hear a lot of French in most provinces like British Columbia, Alberta, and even most of Ontario. Roughly 70% of Canadians speak English fluently, but only a little bit of French, mostly learned at school. However, it's a whole different story if you're in Quebec or in the capital city of Ottawa. To get a better picture, about 22% of Canadians are francophones. They speak French. And more than 85% of these francophones live in the province of Quebec. Interestingly enough, I've had some students from Quebec. Because if it's true that most Canadians west of Quebec don't speak fluent French, some Quebecois aren't fluent in English either. Canadians are well known for being friendly and polite, and this is for the most part true. Last week I was in the park and a neighbor that I barely know gave me back my son's toy. My son had forgotten it in the park and my neighbor kept it for days. I hadn't even realized it was missing. So there, isn't that a wonderful example of Canadian friendliness? It's no wonder why Canada is always among the friendliest countries in the world according to surveys.
Hey, thanks. Oh, sorry.
Some would argue, however, that Canadians are overly apologetic. They say sorry too much. Yes, it's true that Canadians will say sorry instead of excuse me, like Americans do, and they'll even say sorry if you bump into them. Maybe it's a way to avoid conflict. Maybe it's an inherent politeness. Whichever the case, I'll take polite and friendly any day over unfriendly and rude. Sorry if you don't agree. While winters can be indeed long and brutal in many parts of Canada, they will eventually end. Of course, there are places in Canada that are freezing cold, like Nunavut, where below freezing temperatures are the norm all year round. But you have to remember how big this country is. It's the second largest country in the world. In most of the country, winter lasts up to 8 months, with a typically short spring and fall and a hot summer. Vancouver, for example, has a rather mild winter with highs of 7 and lows of 2 Celsius on average. Not bad, eh? Here in Toronto, winter usually starts late November and lasts until mid-March. On the coldest days here, usually January and February, temperatures can reach minus 30 Celsius. So you definitely need to bundle up with many layers of clothing. But we don't ice skate or ski to work, or do we? Want to know more about Canada while improving your English? Watch our next episodes. And here's our tip. When listening and reading, do not stop at every unfamiliar word or expression. Try as much as you can to infer, guess the meaning using the context. First, because those words may not even matter for global comprehension. Second, it can be very long and boring if you do so. And perhaps more importantly, because the context may determine the meaning of the word. So now, take a look below to work with some interesting vocab that may be new to you or you want to refresh. That's all for today, folks. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave your comments below. We'd love to hear from you. See you soon.